Hey, y'all. It's your girl, Paula Bell, back with you. I know it's been a while. Don't hate me about that. It's been a while because life out here, lifing. But I did want to come back today with a special video cast where we will be talking about body balance, more so from an obesity awareness perspective. So, thank you for joining. We're going to be exploring the realities of the stigmas, access, culture, mental health intersection, importance of shifting from judgment to understanding, and real strategies for self care, support, and sustainable change around the topic of obesity. And for those who may not know me, my name is Paula Bell, and I am the owner of Paula A. Bell Consulting, where I provide coaching, consulting, and speaking on a wide array of topics to help individuals live the fulfilling life they desire. And today, I am joined by guest Candace Oates. Candace Oates is the executive director and co founder of Obesity Awareness in Action, a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to promoting health and wellness education among 5th to 12th graders. Obesity Awareness in Action emphasizes the 8 dimensions of wellness to prevent childhood and adult obesity, particularly within underprivileged and underserved communities. Candace's passion for serving these populations stems from her diverse background, including her experience as a former police officer, which has given her a deep understanding of community challenges and the importance of education and empowerment. So help me and welcome Candace Oates to the stage.
Hello, hello.
Hi, Candace. How you doing today, girl?
I am amazing, girl. How you doing?
Girl, I got my workout in today, so I'm doing good.
I know,
I'm
giving
doing
me all the light.
I'm doing good. Got that workout in, get started off right on a Monday. Don't get me wrong, it was hard to get up out that bed, but I got it in.
I
So
am, yes, you get all the steps, all the applause.
yes, I'm trying. I'm definitely trying. So you have such an interesting background, police officer.
Mm.
You've done a lot. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to this point on speaking on obesity awareness. What got you here?
Yeah, so I have always been in the obese category since freaking 9 years old,
Oh,
probably.
wow.
And when I was 25 years old, I found out that I was married, so there's no stigma on that, but I found out that I was 6.5 months pregnant with my now 20-year-old son. And I go to the doctor because I had endometriosis, polycystic ovarian syndrome, obesity, blah, blah, blah. And I go to the doctor to literally look at my IUD, kind of shift everything, make sure my hormones were good because I had light spotting for a week. And I found out I was 6.5 months pregnant. The stigma that was placed upon me for A, not knowing that I was pregnant, even though I was being told I would never have kids, and B, because I was obese, was disgusting. The nurse practitioner at the time, she literally threw this pamphlet about the Atkins diet at me, insisted that I buy the Atkins book, and then was like, you need to follow this diet. It's just, you're just nasty. It's just disgusting. You're hurting your baby. You don't even know you're obese.
Oh, wow.
So I did this diet because I was like, wow, to prepare in 2 months, I'm gonna have a whole human. I don't know what the heck is going on, and I have zero way of understanding what the complexities of this is. My education, I'm very educated. It just wasn't in the dynamics of metabolic health. And
Mm.
so I followed this diet, which was nasty to me. I mean, it was like bacon and eggs and avocado and and I did, and I lost 125 pounds. And I had, over the course, this is including my pregnancy, I would take vitamins and stuff, and then lost 125 pounds. And I said to myself, I would never, from that point on, allow anyone else to feel the way that I felt from a lack of information, from a lack of sharing the diversities and the complexities of what's going on and how to achieve that. Because we're always it's thrown in our face. Run and eat salad, run and eat salad, run and eat salad. But that's not true health. So I went on this whole journey of trying to understand what health really is and how to incorporate it into my lifestyle. Hmm.
Oh, wow. So you also have a background in law enforcement.
Hmm.
And so do you still do that now, or is that in the past? And how did you get into that as well?
Okay, so oh wow, this really needs to be an hour.
I'm interested.
Okay, so I was working in the food industry. I used to do training and development for chains of restaurants, and my job was to take the information that I had. Anyone who was a franchise who wasn't passing their like their inspections or staffing or meeting numbers, I would get those people, those restaurants, because a restaurant corporate does not want, at the end of the day, to take back franchises. They want to keep the franchises healthy. And so I was in charge of turning these franchises around and work. And I worked 80 hours a week, probably just like turning them around. And then my money, let's say my base salary was 40,000. My money came from turning these restaurants around. And so I traveled all over, lived all over, did this for a long time. And I just woke up one day and I was like, and I realized it didn't matter how much money that I made. It didn't matter like what my position was. People looked at me like I wasn't a successful individual and spoke to me like that because I would say, oh, I work for this chain. I work for this corporate office. And it had a restaurant name. So I was like, I'm gonna do something that's gonna garner respect. So that was always in the back of
Mm,
my head. It was always in the back of my head. And then one day I was doing a restaurant visit in Iowa, in northern Iowa, and around the Cedar Rapids area. And this group of, no, I was in West Des Moines. I was in West Des Moines. And this group of police officers came in. It was a group of sergeants. And I was asking them how they were doing. They asked me what my role was, and I was communicating to all these people. And the sergeant came over to me and was like, "Hey, I really like the way that you communicate. We need more diversity." And this sergeant was an African American dude. We need more diversity as a police officers in the Des Moines region so that we can do some more outreach to our community. We are majority, he's whispering, we are a
mhm.
majority white male organization. And I think that you could beat the odds and get in. I don't know. I just have this feeling. So I went home. This is with my first husband. I said, I think I'm going to apply to be a police officer. And he said to me, if you do that, I don't want to be married to you, kind of thing, because they represent nothing good to our community. And I was like,
Mm,
well, if I represent our community and I mean well, that you can't say all police officers don't.
mhm.
And I think his doubting and anger towards me wanting to even try to do it, it really made me want to do it more, which I think it's part of my
I get
personality.
it.
Yeah, I'm
I
like,
get it.
no, this dude's not gonna sit here and tell me what I'm gonna do when I'm not gonna do what I represent. And
Mhm,
so I put an application in and then I made it, right? I mean, I was training and working out
mhm,
and running, and then I was like, oh wow, I'm a police officer. We got divorced, of course, and then I started that journey of being a police officer for almost a decade. Yep. I'm no longer a police officer. Now I work only in health and wellness. So I do health coaching. I became a diabetes prevention specialist. I really dwelled into like personal training and helping others. And then we started this nonprofit. So my desires stemmed from being a police officer, right? Seeing how our community was totally mistreated, totally underrepresented, the resources that were in the schools, the activities and things that were offered to that group of people, like on the east side of Des Moines. Like I was watching this with my own eyes, and it was sickening and disheartening. So then at that point, I was like, what I want to do deep in my core is reach out to those individuals one on one. Because in the scope of being a police officer, you cannot do the outreach that people think that you can do. Your hands are tied by a political chain. And so I want to, no pun, but break the chains. You know what I mean? Like I was like, I have to do something else because the things that I want to do is impact change, but I'm unable to impact change because when I try, a multitude of things happen. You know, nasty stuff putting in my patrol car, messages left, disrespectful talk, lack of backup on serious situations. So I was like, I'm not doing this, but I will make a change. So I transferred out of that into what I'm doing now.
Wow. So let's talk a little bit. First of all, thank you for sharing. Thank you for the vision and the dedication and the commitment you had to be that change for the community on how law enforcement is viewed, despite the naysayers or those who are against you. So thank you for that. Sometimes those are just some of the things that we have to do. But let's talk a little bit about the health and wellness that you're in now. And let's first start with the definition of obesity. How do you define obesity to make sure everybody's on the same page? Because it's very interesting to me when we start talking about health and wellness. And I'm into health and wellness as well as in the
Mm.
standpoint of group fitness coaching. But when you start talking about certain medical terms, there are a lot of misconceptions, a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of misinformation. So let's start with the basics. How do you define obesity?
Obesity is surplus. That's what obesity is. And we have to really keep that in mind because there's a huge stigma, like you said, around the word obesity. From a medical perspective, your body mass index is higher than it needs to be, right? We are accumulating more fat than we are supposed to by a chart that was created for people who are not black and brown. Let's be real, right? The chart was created for Caucasian men back in the 1900s, and that's the honest truth. And European based men on top of that, which means they are smaller framed and they weigh less. And so I want people to just think of obesity as a surplus. And when that surplus starts to hurt your life, let's put it like that. So you start having some metabolic issues, diabetes, cholesterol, high blood pressure, it hurts your joints, you're unable to move, those things, then we want to start taking a look at it. You also might want to get an actual DEXA scan or a scan to see how much body fat you do have,
Mm,
because even though my weight might be weighty up to a scale, right? When I go have my DEXA scan done or have my body mass index done, like actually looking at that percentage of fat, I'm in the overweight category, not the obese category. And the obese category is where my weight is, if that makes any sense to anyone, and I hope it does. So when I go to a doctor and I get on the scale, and the scale says you weigh 167 pounds, and they say you need to officially lose 22 pounds. And even if you lose 22 pounds, you're going to be on the top. Like you can't
mm,
gain another pound than 145 pounds. And I'm like, that's not going to happen. I have zero desire. Now, some people may, and I'm not against anyone who may, but
mm-hmm,
I'm not against being 145 pounds. But for me, I don't, that's not, I get very weak. I don't feel well. I mean, I've been at that weight once and I just looked awful and I felt awful and I was weak and I couldn't think straight. So it was almost depravity, right? I was depriving myself, eating
yeah.
very little, probably 1,100 calories a day, exercising nonstop. So we have to find that good balance and find a doctor or someone who identifies with where you're trying to be in life and helps you stay and maintain there. So that's one thing. So obesity is simply surplus. That's how it's an excess, a surplus. That's obesity. We also have to take a look at it by a genetic standpoint,
Mm-hmm,
a historical standpoint. Um, a lot of times when I meet people, they have been completely beat down. So I spend 60 hours a week of dealing with nothing but humans in the health and wellness industry. That's all I do.
mm-hmm,
They are so beat down. I've tried everything. My doctor says this. I don't trust doctors, right? Like I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm told I have a lack of willpower or to stop stopping at fast food restaurants all the time. I'm told I'm unhealthy, even though this is what I eat. I and so it becomes like this huge topic where people downstairs. That's
oh,
my
that is
baby
too
girl. You
cute.
can hear them in the background too.
Hi.
I got two baby girls downstairs and their jimmies. I'm like, girls, be quiet.
I understand. I get
Downstairs,
it.
Jada. But and then she's like, "Hi, I want to say hi too." But we're always told, "Oh, it's a lack of willpower.
Yeah,
It's because you're nasty or fat or
right.
no. There are so many dynamics that go into health and wellness.
There is.
Because of that, I am like very passionate of educating people about the word obesity. And it was very intentional for me to use the word obesity within our name of the organization. And it's interesting how many people are uncomfortable with the word obesity, even though, what is it, 2/3 of America fall into that category at that time. So we really have to start becoming more aware of that word in our head and like counteracting that stigma with some thoughts like, well, am I obese? How am I obese? What does that mean? Does that mean I'm unhealthy? Like, how do we bring this into a context of being comfortable with who we are?
It's so funny you bring that up because as I was preparing for this particular pod, I was even trying to figure out if I should actually use the word obesity in the title.
Yep,
And the reason being, I'm like, well, some people might see that word and automatically go to the negative and be like, well, that has nothing to do with me. I don't want to have any conversation about that. That's a negative word. Or they might go into shame
yep,
and whatnot. But I also know with the coaching and things that I do, life coaching and all of that, the first step is self awareness, right? You got to acknowledge. So you
gotta
have to
acknowledge.
acknowledge. So to your point, I've always been in the obese category every time I've went to the doctor because my BMI is never where it's supposed to be, even
Exactly.
though it's much working out and what and all that I do.
All the
But
things.
all the things,
Yep.
typically that BMI just is not my friend. So we you talked about some of the misconceptions as you was talking about the as you were defining obesity. We talked about how a lot of people probably look at it from a negative perspective.
Mhm.
I love how you made it real simple. It's just surplus, y'all, and all we have to do is work on the surplus,
That's
right?
it. That is
that,
it.
you just got to work on the surplus.
Done. That's all it is. It is surplus. And I'm not calling myself surplus,
Mhm.
awareness and action. We
That part. That part.
like the truth is, and I mean I have a ton of people. I've even had several like grant writers, several people outside of organizations say you would have more success if you took the word obesity out and maybe said wellness or just aware health and wellness awareness association. I'm not changing what I'm saying because I am so tired of that stigma. When you're told for your entire life that you are obese, it sits in you because when the rest of America and the world hears the word obese, they think of beyond 600-pound life, or they think, oh, you're just a nasty individual. It's the lens of the appearance in America, right? But honestly, like I said to you, when I go to the doctor, say, oh, you're so obese. Okay, thank you for that. I really appreciate that feedback, and I'm gonna keep on with my journey. At the end of the day, do you know my journey? Do you know what I do? No. Is that person who is literally bulimic or anorexic, who is not eating on purpose, who literally looks in the mirror and shames themselves and has body dysmorphia, you're going to say they're more healthy than me? I would beg to differ. I don't know about you, Paula, but I would
I
beg.
would agree. I would
Like,
agree.
so, like,
It's
wouldn't you disagree? I mean,
I would because you have the ones who have surplus, but then you have the ones that is there's a lot more in the well, there's a lot in both. You have the mental aspect of it, and
they
then you have there's something else going on there that's a root cause that's causing you to feel that you're less than, you're not worthy of, and it's because of the societal norms that we have out here, which condition us that we're
it's
supposed
a
to look a certain way, and you
condition.
don't. And a lot, it's interesting too. There are a lot of people who think just because you're thin, you're healthy. No, there are some people who are heavier set that are healthier than some people that are thin.
And that is the truth scientifically. That is the truth. That's the truth. We have to really understand that the appearance of someone doesn't make that person better than, more healthier than you. Also, there are people who are in the world who are within their BMI who no longer have periods, cannot get pregnant because for their body type that is too small for them. We have to look at everything from like a grand scope of what health and wellness is. And I agree with you 100%, Paula. Like, and that's the problem. Have you ever known someone who is going through, this is a personal one, but I'm asking,
Mhm.
cancer or like a really
Oh,
bad, and they start to lose weight, and all of a sudden everybody goes, "Oh, you look so great. Like, what are you doing? You look so good." And the person chose not to share that they're going through a serious illness with the world, but the world views them as better. It's messed up. They're
mhm,
actually very sick and fighting for their life.
mhm.
So we have to take that context and really understand that word of excess. That's all it is. And it's and take it for what it is. And isn't it excess of muscle? Isn't it like, what are we looking at an excess of? Is it an excess of bones? And a lot of people, not to get into my roots background, because girl, I get deep with black and brown people.
We going there next. So come on. It's a great
Oh,
segue. We
can I
going
come on,
there.
girl?
Yes, we going there next.
We
Come with it.
stronger. We're built differently. We
Mhm,
have bigger bones. We naturally have more muscle mass
mhm,
than other cultures, right? So you're taking us and making us do this physical work. You're taking us and putting us in football and basketball leagues because you need our girth. But at the same time, when all those basketball players and all those football players are technically obese by their weight and height, right? But they're muscular, we're praising one and then not,
mm,
and like discouraging the other. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You
right.
either want us as a people to be strong and viable and do something, or you don't. So the same scale that they're using is the same one they're using to use us, and it makes it very complicated in my brain. That's all I'm
Mhm,
gonna
mhm. No, you bring up a good point because as much as I work out and I do cardio, weight training, and all of that, and I've been pretty consistent since 2014 as trying to keep that going.
say. Good
Now,
job.
my eating needs some help, but and I know that there's just I'm an emotional eater, so I'll just say that out loud. If I'm going through some things and some stress, I like comfort food. That's just how I'm built. I know this about me.
Hmm.
And I know what I need to do when those things happen. But I'm
Hmm.
going to tell you, a couple years ago, what took me down was when my doctor told me I had to go on blood pressure medication, girl.
Oh,
And the reason being is because of genetics.
yep.
It was not, he said, and he looked at me, he said, Paula, I need you to get out your mind right now because I already know what you're doing. This
Hmm.
has nothing to do with you not doing what you need to be doing. You
Hmm.
work out, you're eating
Hmm.
genetically. This
Hmm.
is just what's happening. And it happened out the blue,
Hmm.
right? It wasn't, I've not ever had issues with my blood pressure. It wasn't ridiculous, but he said, but we don't want that heart to start having issues because we're
Hmm.
not handling this situation. And
Hmm.
even when I went through my CT scan, I have no calcification on my heart,
Hmm.
right? Everything came back great,
Hmm.
but I still had the blood pressure. I took a mental hit for me. I mean, I'm not going to sit up here and say that was easy. The whole reason I was working out and eating, I didn't want to take medication.
Hmm.
I didn't want to be that statistic in our community that's on diabetes medication, blood pressure medication, high
Hmm.
cholesterol
I
medication.
get it. I
I
get
didn't
it.
want to be that person. And yet here I was trying to do all that prevention and it still happened. And some of it is because of genetics. It's just because of the way you're built. And that's a whole nother aspect of the linkage between mental illness and the health and wellness and how your mental can play into how
Exactly.
do you work. So let's talk a little bit more about cultural perceptions, just as you brought up, especially in communities of color. How do you think these cultural perceptions shape how obesity is viewed and treated within communities of color?
I get that. In our true community, if we do our 23andMe or go back, a lot of us stem from some places in Africa.
Mhm,
And where in that right, being plump is looked at a sign of positivity and light. It's celebrated. It means wealth. It means health. It means you're doing better. It means that you are are financially well off and taken care of. And so for the even though we're in America in all our states living our best lives, for black and brown people, it has never been, and I'll use the word, I shouldn't use the word never because some sectors do, but it is not as widely looked down upon if you have a few extra pounds on you, right? It's actually looked at as beauty It's looked at as being attractive, especially for women. We have songs written about the excess. We have, and see, I'm using the word excess. We have songs written about the excess. And what is interesting is I'm not actually sure where this shift is going to go to, because we had some very famous actresses and whatnot who chose to embellish butts and boobs and
Mhm.
thighs medically to try to look like what
Yeah.
we look like naturally. So that causes a lot of confusion. Like, if you're supposed to be 120 pounds, someone who's 120 pounds would not naturally have size C and D boobs and a large butt and thicker thighs, but we're changing, and actually inflated lips, and we're
Mhm.
changing all the things that were looked at negatively, that we have film, blackface film talked about us, that we have been dogged out about. So I'm not really sure where we're going. Before, when I was growing up in high school, all the Caucasian people, they looked up to Kate Moss. They
Mhm.
looked up to little I can't even remember any of them because I was like, ugh. I remember going into the restroom. Like, oh, that is not cute. I remember going into the restroom, and these little girls would be like, "Oh, my thighs don't touch by this much," and they would like be comparing their thigh gaps. And I grew up in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I went to an all white school. So when I started dating, I had to go to like a whole different side of town because we wasn't speaking the same language in my school, right? So it was just like a whole thing. And I remember that. And then I take those days, which wasn't, I mean, 20 years ago, and I take 30 years ago, I take those days and I look at now and I'm like, now we're intentionally gaining weight, taking that fat out of our body, putting it back in to make our body look more black brown accentuated than we did before. That was like awful. That starvation was the key. And now is, how do we make ourselves as voluptuous as possible? And so the messaging is shifting and changing. And I'm not saying it's not going to go back, but I am saying at this moment, BBLs and everything else is like huge, right? Doctors are cleaning up $10,000 at a time, sucking fat out and injecting it back into different places. So that's one thing. I think for Caucasian women, especially like going back to like slavery days, and like when we have record, they were made to corset themselves to be as tiny as possible. You look back on some stuff and it's just very not healthy. Some people had actual organ failure from it. I mean, it's not a healthy view, but it was be as skinny as possible because that's what's attractive. So we have these two very different mindsets. One, voluptuous is beautiful, and it's a sign of wealth. And two, being as skinny as possible is what it is. And we're plucked into an environment where being as skinny as possible is what it is. But amongst ourselves, we're like, yes, I don't have a desire to be this. I like the way I'm look. I like the way, and it makes it very clashing. But the worst part about it is when it goes to keeping us down in other arenas, right? Um, with other arenas,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So jobs,
Mhm.
the way you look, hair,
Mhm.
we just legally have been ready, like able to wear our hair the way we choose to and not have to straighten it. We
Mhm.
just legally run the right to have braids in high schools and universities. And so it takes it deeper. Jobs, career, education, being accepted into organizations, being able to get approved for different committees, different things, having positions that are higher, chief operating, suite, C suites types of jobs. We have to fight so much harder. We have to do so much more in order to do the same things, all off of looks and perspective. So I have my hair in braids on purpose. I've had my hair in braids for 10 years now. Ever since I quit being a police officer, I've had my hair in braids. And for me, it's a way to stand up for who I am. I am not ashamed to wear my hair in braids. I am a Black African American woman. And it doesn't make me less smart, less viable, or unable to do the same things anyone else is, even though I am not a thin person, right? So, and even when I was looking for jobs and I moved to Colorado, it was extremely difficult for me to get a job because I would overhear people saying, well, she just doesn't look like, the rest of us look. And I don't want to be 5'7" and 110 pounds to teach yoga or to teach a fitness class. And it doesn't mean I'm less fit. I'll blow you out of water lifting. So let's be real about where we're at in the world. Let's be real. I'm quicker, I'm stronger, and just because I don't look like you doesn't mean I'm not any, as healthy. So it's been a struggle even for myself, right? I've had a
Mhm.
job and started these things, but trust and believe I've been talked to crazy, disrespected. The doors have been slammed in my face. I was asked to do a professional league training camp with some kids. And when I got back, I was called into the office and they insinuated that I must have had some relationship with somebody on the team or something to get that offer. It's been a lot. That was some years ago, but it's been a lot. So it's difficult for us to accept ourselves, full circling back to your question. But we need to do that because we are a race where most of us are looked upon as if we have excess, whether it's just our butt or just our thighs. And my little daughter that just came up here is classified as obese. She is skinny as a rail. She is thin, 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 very muscular, thin, thin, thin. So it's perspective.
Okay, so that was a lot you just gave there, and it was very hard for me to not say anything because I felt every single word that you said there. And I'm upset we haven't known each other until 2025 because I feel like we could have went through some of these trials and tribulations together because you are right. The amount of I remember when I was in college, I had a friend who was from the Caribbean, and my family's also from the Caribbean. And so we wore braids. I mean, we grew up doing braids. I mean, that's just what we did. She had just gotten her hair braided. She had to take all her braids down because she had a job interview because she was a senior, was going into her career. And I was like, this is ridiculous. You have to, you just paid to get this done. And now you have to take all of this down for an interview because if you don't, you're going to be viewed a certain way. So, with that being said, what role does the community play? Because we got to do this together, right? We can't do this
Have to.
by ourselves, right? That's how you and I even came to doing this podcast, right? Support and encouraging. So, what role does the community play in obesity prevention and support? And one thing I will tell you as you think about that question is when in 2020, when the world shut down, that was like the best year for me because it gave me time to just stop and have clarity. Never in my wildest dreams, this is the one time I will say never. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think I was going to be a group fitness instructor. You could not have told me I was going to be teaching extreme hip hop step or extreme bud.
Get
You couldn't
it.
have told me that.
Get
You
it.
couldn't have told me that, right? I started teaching it, but let me tell you something. The community you build in health and wellness when you're helping people, I've almost said that the people in health and wellness probably need more therapy than people
Okay.
outside
It
because
is.
I didn't realize how bad it was. A lot of people take working out as a way to suppress what's going on and they're not really
Mhm.
dealing with their issues, but working out is an outlet for them. And you have to be able to do both. But in the health and wellness field, if you're one of those people that can help people recognize that and can help
Mhm.
people get out of that and can help people get to the point where they're now doing the same for other people, it's a
Yes.
beautiful thing. It is a beautiful thing to
Oh,
watch and be a part of. So it
beautiful.
does take community. So what role do you feel, based on what you've experienced, does community play in obesity prevention and support?
Definitely understanding that there are 8 dimensions of wellness, which our nonprofit plays off of. We have a mental, emotional, physical, spiritual. We have all these things that play into our health and well being. One, if you are really talented at a tool, to find a way to volunteer your time to express that tool to others. Volunteer your an hour a month, 10 hours a year, but put it on the top of your head. I teach hip hop, movement, aerobics. And you know what? I'm going to go and I'm going to volunteer an hour to a group of any age you choose. And I'm going to show that movement can be fun. Or I'm an investment banker. And you know what? I'm a volunteer. I'm going to go out to the community. I'm going to host a free class. I'm going to do this. And I'm going to show people how to save money, what to do, how to do it, when to do it, the importance of doing it, what a FICO score is. So in the if you teach yoga or mental health or awareness, really for me the key is you have to volunteer a little bit of your free time. I'm talking about a little bit a year. I mean, a little bit a month, a little bit, and go out and you do make changes by impacting those things. Get together as a community, put on health and wellness fairs and fest, understand what health and wellness really is, have local people speaking and local people telling you the importance of it and telling you their stories of going to therapy and it being supportive for them. Because I don't know about anyone else, but when I had my little snafu with my son, when I was pregnant with my son, I never looked at healthcare the same again. Ever. I was
Mm.
literally disgusted. And every time I had to go to a doctor's appointment, it just made my fingertips cold. Shoot, girl, my blood pressure probably went up just from thinking about going. So if you put a cuff on me, it probably would be high. I mean, it's just knowing what could be said and the way that it impacts us as a community. And I have been me personally in therapy for years. It started before I was even a police officer, and especially during, because I would have lost my mind. And even now, as like a health and wellness professional, and I don't know about you, but lots of people unload their personal and emotional stories on you because you are a safe space for them and they can
Right.
trust. And people feel if they can trust you with their body, they can trust you with their mind and their heart. And it becomes a almost like you're a therapist and a fitness instructor at the same time. You're taking on loads of other people's emotions. So I definitely want other people in the community and whatever you're excellent at, teaching football, basketball, golf, traveling, get groups of kids together to take them, or adults if they've never traveled, walk them through how to get out of the country and see different aspects. Because when you go to Europe and Australia and Thailand and all these, they are so, people love us as a culture across seas. I mean, it it was the weirdest feeling to me. I remember when we were in Italy, you could sit down next to someone. I was 19. You could sit down next to someone and they didn't shift. They didn't snag their purse. They just, hey, how are you? And it was so odd to my brain. I had never been in an environment the whole time, because even in Mexico it's a little shady. People always say I go to Mexico, but even then they have the whole light skin versus dark skin scenario going on. So, but I'm talking about true traveling. People don't, they just look at you as a human, and it is odd. People need to experience what that feels like so they can be more gracious to themselves when they're here. And what I'm saying is, when you're treated one way somewhere else and you get back to your home place, and literally this happened on my flight back, second leg, someone asked to move seats because they was uncomfortable sitting next to you. You could be like, that's their ignorance. It starts to put things in a better perspective. So if you can even get out to travel or get a group together and say, let me help you walk you through a passport. Let's do this together. All those things matter. And all the pastors and preachers start talking about well-being and health. Churches need to start putting on small little group sessions about well-being and health. We all need to come together in our strengths and balance each other out.
I 100% agree. I 100% agree. You mentioned something there that I want to go a little bit deeper on, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel it needs to be discussed,
Mm-hmm.
is the mental impact that happens to individuals based on some of these lived experiences, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you grew up and you were told you were fat,
Mm-hmm.
right, you're ugly, you're obese,
Mm-hmm.
nobody will want you, you
Mm-hmm.
don't look good, you
Mm-hmm.
got to lose weight,
Mm-hmm.
you're too dark, you're
Oh,
too
I got
light,
that one. Mm-hmm.
you're too light,
Mm-hmm.
your hair is too curly, your hair is too
Mm-hmm.
kinky,
Mm-hmm.
your hair is too short, your hair is too long. right? So you hear all these negative
Yeah.
things,
All
and
day.
if you continue to hear them, you cannot tell me that that does not attach to you and go with you throughout life. So you have been in the health and wellness field for quite some time, and as you said, and I do agree, it almost is like you are a therapist
Mm.
in some of the communities that you're in, because some things are just so heavy, right? How do you help people who have been told all of these negative things and they're carrying that weight? How do you get them to do what Erica Badu said in Bag Lady?
Say
Get
this.
rid of all of those
This-
bags.
You know what? I'm gonna start singing. Okay. And she is so right in that song.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're gonna break your back carrying all those bags.
Mm-hmm. That is so true. And we carry so many of them,
Oh.
and we carry them. And I'm talking right now to communities of color. Okay. I'm gonna keep it real.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I might get in trouble for this later, but I just gotta say
You
it.
may, honey. I'm right here with you though.
Oh, we carry so much stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and we hold back, and we don't say a lot of things that we probably want to say,
Mm-hmm.
because if we say it, we're going to be put into that stereotype, right?
Mm-hmm. Or lose your
So,
job. Yeah.
or lose your job,
Mm-hmm.
or be on social media just being smeared or what have you, right?
Yeah. Ostracized. Yeah.
The whole nine.
Mm-hmm.
So we already are carrying a lot internally that we don't get rid of. And we were always taught also, you don't go to therapists, right? Because
Sure.
you shouldn't go to therapists. There's nothing wrong with you. I totally disagree with that. Please go get some therapy. You shouldn't go to therapists and all of that, right? So we're carrying all of that, and we need an outlet to get rid of it. And then sometimes you would think it would be your community, but depending on who's in that community, you may not get the response that you would think that you would get, because they end up putting more baggage on you.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you get rid of the baggage?
You know,
How?
Paula, I try to keep my circle of control where it's at and be realistic with it. Conversations and podcasts like this do help. It really
Hmm.
does. For two people in two different states being able to talk about the same topic and have the same experience, it lets people know we are
That
all
part.
in the same boat. Okay. We all are doing the same thing in the same struggle. But I am going to say, when I start working with, and this is me personally, people, or we're in a small group and someone pulls me over silently and says what they're going through, I always have resources to stress either free group therapy or reduced cost therapy or therapy. Like a lot of insurance companies carry it, and I press it and press it and press it and press it. And then I'm always very transparent and say, I myself am in therapy. I go every other week, every other Wednesday. Shout out to my therapist, right? Because we have to deal with so much all the time. You cannot keep the monkey off your back no matter what you do. And the moment you let some of it off, five more monkeys jump on. And we have to sit here and try to be successful in an environment, and we're not in all rights. This is not because we have a different president, but from politically down from the beginning of time, right? We have to be very, very cautious of what we say, what we do, how much
Exactly.
is given to us,
Exactly.
when it's taken away, what jobs we're supposed to have, how we're supposed to work, what our lane is supposed to be. And we are humans. That's all we are. So then we have our partners, our parents, and then whatever our parents went through. My parents were the very first class in Indianapolis to go through desegregation. They said it was
Mm.
one of the most awful situations they've in physically violent and degrading situations they've ever gone through. And we have to sit here and listen to the threats of not being able to record police officer stops and all this stuff that's going on, defunding of very important public schoolings and things that bring us education and changing our background. And we have to sit here and try to just take it
And live like normal.
like
We're supposed to be
normal.
happy all the time. The minute you don't smile, there's a problem. The
There's a
minute you
problem.
smile, there's a problem. The minute you talk, there's a problem. When you don't say
Always.
nothing, why you silent? It's like you can't win.
You cannot win. And I tell you, if there is a therapist who is listening, and I hope to God that there is,
Hmm.
I would donate 1 hour of time a month to do a group therapy session with our people so that everybody can kind of unleash and be led together, and you're not called out as some crazy person who needs therapy. And I remember when I started going to therapy, my parents were like, that's not what we do. Well, that's what this one's doing, because there's a whole world that I have to tackle, and I'm not doing it alone. I'm not. So we also have our parents telling us that it's unhealthy, and their parents saying that we can't trust. But I implore, especially if there's a person of color who's a therapist, to please go out into the community and say, I will see 20 people a month in this at this location to just discuss and keep us mentally and emotionally well. And if we do that one by one, we can impact so much change. And maybe one or two or 10 of those people will go out and find their own therapist to go more regularly or biweekly or one on one. I don't even think that people understand the pressures that we go under. Like, I don't let my son wear hoodies in his truck. I had to go over what to do if you get stopped by a police officer and why to do it like that. Um, I have made sure that he keeps his hair super clean cut because I want him to progress in his job. When I was naming him, I refused to name any of my kids anything cultural because I didn't want someone to look at their application and not be able to get a job. It's so deep, or get into college. We have to be on our toes all the freaking time. How we dress, what we think, get pulled over nonstop. Even when I moved to Colorado, I finally had to go up to the police station and say, listen, I live in this neighborhood. Please stop pulling me over. And I am not giving anyone any of my information because I know my rights. So unless you have something legal, please stop, or I will have to go further in action. I'm not going to sit here and just keep getting harassed because I'm driving into my neighborhood. We'll get followed for miles, girl. It was stupid. So, and I'm talking about 2 miles, but that's too much, right? Just trying to find
Yeah.
a reason, trying to find a reason.
Right.
So we have to unload that. We have to unleash it. And we're dealing with other issues like
Mhm.
pay differences, attention and education. I had to go up to my daughter's school, they're 6, and be like, listen, you cannot talk to my child like this. If someone pushes her out of a swing and says you do not belong, you must call me immediately. I am not going to come. It's the truth. That happened the end of last year. I am not going to have my daughter run home and ask me what was going on. Girl, we went to take a cruise last year. This is fact. Okay, I'm not going to pull up the email, but it is fact. And my daughter was excited. We're going on a cruise for Christmas. That was their gift. And she was so excited. And the teacher emailed me and said, please do not have your daughter saying falsities and believing that she's doing something pretty much that we all know is not happening. And I was like, I am so confused what this chick is talking about. So I emailed her back. I am confused. What are you talking about? Well, she's saying that they're going on a cruise and they're saying, and I said, oh, I was hoping that you were just asking me what dates we were going to be gone for our cruise and not assuming that we don't have the financial capacity to take our children on a cruise.
Some of the stuff you gotta laugh at because you just literally cry or end up in jail.
End up
Literally,
in
I mean,
jail.
right? What's? I mean, I actually have some jewelry that looks really nice, and I had a woman ask me, "Is that real?"
Who does that? The audacity. The
I,
audacity.
I'm like, come on. So, and this, I personally believe, you all are probably saying, how does this relate to obesity? It all ties together.
Because it stresses us out and
Exactly.
it makes us have cortisol and not sleep and eat
Yep.
too much and doubt ourselves
Hmm.
and emotional stress, and this is all part of well-being. That's how this all ties in, and these examples is just to show audience, whether you are Caucasian, Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, doesn't matter, that please be aware of other people's struggles and
Hmm.
journeys. We are not created on an equal platform, and it is very stressful, and dealing with this day in and day out, it causes other problems. And let me tell you, your hormones get off whack, your cortisol gets off whack, you're not sleeping. No matter how little you're eating, you will look chunky because you're just not calming down enough for your fight or flight to shut off. It all plays a role.
It definitely does. It definitely does. And it definitely plays a huge role in communities of color.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And as you get older, it is harder to lose. Your metabolism slows down. Your hormones, like you said, go out of whack,
They go
right?
crazy.
It gets harder. And we know that in certain communities, there are certain diseases and things that plague that community just because you're a part of that community. And it's all about acknowledging that early enough and
Mm-hmm.
having the education and the resources and
Mm-hmm.
dispelling a lot of these myths that we were told growing up.
Say
A
it.
lot of these things we were told growing up, and it isn't because our parents, our grandparents didn't know any better. They knew what they knew in the environment in which they lived. I don't blame them. They were doing the best with what they had, but now we know better. Isn't it Maya Angelou who says, when you know better, do
You
better?
do better.
All right.
When you
So
know
now we
better, you
know
do
better.
better.
We have to do better. And there's just things that we have to be aware of and we have to do. And we need to stop judging people. We
Yeah.
need to stop shaming people. We
Mm-hmm.
need to stop making people feel that they're less than. All of
Mm-hmm.
us are on a journey. All of us have
Mm-hmm.
our own thing. All of us
Mm-hmm.
are going through our own lived experiences. Nobody's experience should be diminished
At
or
all.
minimized. And just because it's not your reality does not mean it is not real.
Say
I
it
don't care
again.
if we talked about stuff that you've never experienced. It doesn't matter. It
That,
is our lived experience. It is our reality. And we're not the only ones going through it. And
mm-mm.
I'm not going to minimize or diminish somebody else's lived experience because I've never experienced it. That doesn't mean it's not real. It's very real to that person who's going through it.
Mm-hmm.
It just may not be something I've ever experienced. And who am I to say that what you are going through is not real? That's not for me to say. I
Yep.
don't know what you've been through.
Yep.
Right. And so we've got to get to a point where we can have honest, transparent conversations like this.
Facts.
Okay. We're going to vent. All
Facts.
right. Now, what do we do about it? Because we can talk about it all day long. We can vent
Yep.
about it, be upset about it all day long. What are
Yep.
we going to do about it? I loved your idea. And I'm actually open to hosting a virtual
That'd be amazing.
session where we actually for 90 minutes just come on here, what we all going through. You got, the first 30, we're going to vent.
That's
The
right.
next 60, we're going
That's
to
right.
strategize, okay? Because
That's
it can't
right.
just be a venting session. You got
No.
to do something about it. This was just a warm up.
Yep.
This
That's
was
right.
just a warm up, right? You have to do something about it. But I know we're about to be wrapping up here soon. You have some events coming up. I'm going to be a part of one of them coming up
I
here in
love
Iowa in a couple of
it.
weeks. What you got going on that you want our audience to know about and be a part of?
Okay, so our my organization, Obesity Awareness and Action, and I don't know, do you put the website in the? Would you put the website in notes, or is this just
I
live?
can put the website in the comments when I post the
Perfect,
video.
thank
Yep,
you.
I can do that.
So our nonprofit, Obesity Awareness in Action, www.oaamovement.org, is hosting a walk and roll. It's annual. This is our fourth annual, and we're still working out kinks to make this a very big event. But we're at Union Park August 1st, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. And here we celebrate by dancing and moving and getting our steps in. We have vendors for information. We give away free meals to the first 100 people who come. We really try to do, and we have free dental screenings at this one. So we're really trying to have it in the community, for the community, by the community. Um, every year, we really are striving to raise money on top of our event to provide our services awareness bound. So we go into the community and we teach the 8 dimensions of wellness to kids fifth grade through 12th grade. And it's all free to the community and the communities that we go to. And we're also trying to launch our Soul Connections program, which is going to provide free, brand new, not used or lightly used athletic shoes or shoes that fit within our 8 dimensions. So occupational is one of those. So kiddos who need non-slip shoes for work or boots for their construction job. Whatever they need, we are trying to be that force. I also am trying to get a committee together to grow our Iowa event, our walk and roll. It would be meeting quarterly for 90 minutes virtually. So in the evening or on the weekend, whenever people are available, we always do a poll to try to grow this event and get it to where it needs to go. Because word of mouth is not working. Advertising costs thousands of dollars. So we do what we can, but we also need the community to kind of pull together to get the word out. If you know of anyone, it's no cost to come to our walk. If you want to donate, that is always wonderful. I think, well, I shouldn't say no cost to enroll. I believe the enrollment starts at $1, but it's all donation based walk. So some people just do $1 to get in the door, and some people do $300, 200, whatever people can afford. I mean, we're trying to get some activities together every year that's different. Line dancing. I like what you do, though, Paul. I'm gonna have to pull you in. Some hip hop, some teaching
Of
and
course.
fun and movement and activities, and just enjoy it. We have a kids corner. It's got a splash pad there. So we're just trying to incorporate the importance of moving. The role has a wheelchair in it. We also try to do IDD spaces. So, and that's intellectual and development
Hmm.
disabilities. We try to do spaces for that. So people do not have to be a certain size, weight, movement. Uh, Everyone, regardless of how much you move or don't move, regardless of your weight or your color, regardless of your disability or non disability, is welcomed. And so I want this to be a huge annual event. And then, of course, start getting some smaller events during the year so that we can support our large event every year. But baby steps, baby steps. It takes a lot of money to make these things go round.
You are right. You are right. And this is a way that the community could get involved in a way that's fun, in a way that's healthy, in a way
Mm-hmm.
that can even help your mental. I realized that when I started getting involved in some of the community activities, I'm actually working with a community organization this week, and I'm going to bring Extreme Burn to their youth, and I'll be bouncing all around the place doing things. But it's just getting that out there and people watching and having fun and seeing that they can do things that they thought that maybe they couldn't do, just
Right.
watching that and having that fun. So I agree. It's really important to get out. And at the end of the day, if you don't have your health and wellness, you really don't have
Yeah,
anything
health
because
is
you can't, right?
health
You
is
can't do
wealth.
anything. Yeah, you can't really do much.
And
Right.
if you're a small business or and we're still getting vendors together. Unfortunately, it's been a slow roll because I really do want to try to incorporate more dentists and more mental health people and more small businesses and resources. I'm really trying to get resources together. So please, email me. My name is Candace, OAA movement at outlook.org, like OA or OA movement at outlook, right,
Mhm.
.com. So really try to just get out there and just help pull us all together. We're one community.
I 100% agree. Well, Candace, this has been great. This actually fueled my soul for the week, got me energized. Now I'm ready. I'm ready
Let's
to
do it.
take on the week. Again, thank you all who have been listening. I got to give a special shout out to my dear friend Robert Thacker was on the phone, engaging in LinkedIn. He is a dear friend of mine. You want to talk about mental support? This gentleman here has helped me through some of the darkest times of my career, corporate career, and
Hey,
advising me. Also, the one who pushed me to get my ebook out. So I have much love for Mr.
oh,
Thacker. And so, if you ever want to do process improvement, continuous improvement, I got to put a plug in for marketing. He's your guy. So just go ahead, look at the comments on LinkedIn, follow him on LinkedIn, get him engaged. He's a
perfect.
phenomenal person. But outside of that, we're going to keep these conversations going because I do believe they're needed. Candace, you and I are just going to have to collaborate somehow
That's
and
right.
do something, whether it's quarterly or monthly, just to
That's
educate.
right.
Let's get out here and get people educated. But again, this will be available on LinkedIn. It will also be available on my YouTube channel. I'll be pushing out social on that. But until the next time, hopefully everybody has a great week. Hopefully you got some good information out of this, and we hope to see you at the next one. Candace, don't go away. You and I will debrief here in a minute, but have a great week, everyone.